Cheers, reader pops. Welcome back to the book videos. I have so many recommendations for you guys. I'm so excited to get into it. Very quickly before we hop right in, just wanted to let you know that we are having the fattest sale of the year for merch at HaleyPham.com. 20% off the pink and blue tie-dye embroidered girly pop hoodies. I know everyone says their merch is soft, but my merch is soft. Read in them, be cozy in them, be cute in them, take your senior photos in them even. A girly pop actually did that, made my week. We've got the blue, and then the very first collection of merch that I ever created is 30% off, and the text on this one is some of my favorite. It's like the coolest puff print that we've ever done on the merch. So if you're watching this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, the sale is live, and if you're watching after then, you can still get the merch, it just won't be on sale. So I've never done a book recommendation video based on a specific trope because I haven't read enough books in a singular trope to do an entire video on it until I saw Steph Bohr post a video where you guys on Instagram just tell me what specific trope you want, and then I can recommend a book for that, which is absolutely perfect because I've got a lot of tropes and a lot of books, a lot of my favorite books sitting in front of me, so I'm very excited to do this. Let's start off strong with fake dating. I just realized recently that this is actually one of my favorite tropes and probably the one that I've read the most amount of books in. My absolute favorite fake dating trope book is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. One of my top 3 romances, so obviously because it's in this trope, it makes it my favorite. Why is it so dusty? I read this like last month. Something unique about this book is that it was aware of the tropes in it because the girl reads romances and she's like, oh, like this is like a fake dating trope, and she's aware of the trope within the book, which I thought was very funny. Okay, another trope that I love so very much, and I have read a lot of books in this trope, is The Second Chance at Love. So I have 2 recommendations for this one, but my favorite one out of the 2 is Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. This is one of the most unique romance books I've ever read, especially because of how she formats the timeline and how we get to take a look at their relationship back when they were in college to now being adults, seeing each other on the streets of New York, and then you'll see what happens from there. But it was, wow. I think I cried at this book too as well. And the second chance romance is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. This one, they're not married, they're engaged, but they don't even think they're gonna make it to the marriage. And you basically watch them hate each other for most of the book, but then they get their second chance and you'll see what happens, I guess. Okay, this next one, have I read a book like this? I'm not sure, but it's Lovers That Never Worked, and I know that that trope is in this book, Normal People by Sally Rooney, but I haven't read it yet. I've read like 15 pages of this and then I gave up, but not because it was bad, just because I got distracted by some other book. I got the UK version because I thought that the cover was so cool because they look like sardines, but it's people. I feel like it's kind of spoilery that you know that they don't work out in the end. Oh wait, I do have another book for this trope, but I feel like it's kind of spoilery. But I already know that about this book and I haven't read it yet and I still want to read it. So if you want that, I have another book recommendation. Hopefully this is not too spoilery for you. I'm not going to tell you who the love doesn't work out with, but that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I always forget that there's romance in this book, and then when I remember, it really hits hard. Wow, this is an unforgettable book, even though I just said that I forgot. It's just so good, and I love the way that it ended. Highly recommend reading this book as well. It's written fully in just dialogue of interviews from every character's point of view, and this had the most quotable lines from a romance book that I've ever read. I've never had the urge to highlight stuff when I read a romance book other than when I read this one, so if you're into that kind of thing and it's not like too cheesy, definitely recommend this one. Arranged Marriage Where the Guy Falls First. When I got into this book, I had no idea it was an arranged marriage trope, and that is The Wall in Winnipeg of me. I need to say this title slower, it's always a little tricky. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I had no idea it was the arranged marriage type of thing, or I think more so marriage of convenience is what they call it. And who's to say if the guy falls first in this one, because Aiden, the guy in this book, really doesn't use words to describe his emotions, he uses actions. So I guess it's kind of up for debate, but if you're looking for like a forced marriage type of thing, this is the only one I've read, I'm pretty sure, but I think I gave it 4 stars, so highly recommend. This one just says Bodyguard. That is actually something that I do want to read because it sounds really cute, and the only one that I own that I know is this bodyguard trope is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is part of like a trilogy, but you don't have to read them in order. I read the first one and I gave that one 3 stars, I think, and I kind of gave up because I just didn't really love it that much, but apparently that's everyone's least favorite of the trilogy, so I might give this one a try because I know it's that bodyguard trope, and that just sounds kind of cute. Like I can just kind of see that playing out and how it'd be kind of, I don't know, adorable. So maybe you can read it for me and then recommend it back to me if it's good. Okay, Grumpy X Sunshine. So many people ask for this, and I feel like this is actually in a lot of the books that I read. I just never really think of it in those terms, but this is the most clear grumpy and sunshine book I've ever read, and that is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is also a really good romance book. And I feel like I'm starting to see which ones are 4 stars, which ones are 3 stars, or which ones are 5 stars because of the amount that I've read. Because when I first read, you know, Beach Read, The Hating Game, those were kind of my first ever adult romance books that I've ever read in my entire life. So I had nothing to gauge it off of. And now that I've read a ton more, I look back and I'm like, actually The Hating Game was really good in comparison to all these other crappy ones I've read. And this one is a definite, really amazing romance book. I rated it 4 stars, but now the more that I read and I look back on it, I would almost rate it like a 4.5 stars. This is a very clear, grumpy, and sunshine, and I really liked how they did it. Highly recommend this book just in general too. The trope between Jameson and Avery in the Inheritance Games, not sure what it's called. And then someone else said a book with a good mix of mystery and love. So that is definitely The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a trilogy. The 3rd book isn't out yet, but I've read the first 2, and the romance starts in the first one and definitely continues in the second one. If you love mystery, you will absolutely love these books. I think I'm gonna go back and rate these 5 stars because the more I think about it, I'm just like, I love those books so much, and I really liked the romance in it. And it's also YA, so it's not like anything spicy or anything like that. It's just really fun to read, and the mystery keeps you reading, the romance keeps you reading. Amazing books. I love these so much. A lot of you guys like pain, apparently, because you want a book that will make you sob. So the one that's made me sob the hardest is definitely Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I can't stop thinking about this book, and it's finally getting the recognition and the hype that it deserves. I feel like everyone is reading it right now. I got some of my friends who don't even read books to read it, and they loved it. If you don't really read books that much and you text me and you're like, I'm at Barnes & Noble, what book should I buy? I always tell people to get this one. One of my all-time favorites, and was just very blindsided by what happened at the end. I just was not expecting that at all, and it definitely made me cry. Oh yeah, Before We Were Strangers and Ugly Love are the only 2 other romance books that have made me cry, I'm pretty sure. Okay, this person just said mental health. This is a YA contemporary romance book that I've read, Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, and there's a lot of talk about mental health in this book. They touched on anxiety and depression and a few other things. I'd read the trigger warnings on this just because it definitely deals with heavier topics, but it's definitely one of the only romance books that I've read that touch on those topics heavily. So if that's what you like, I recommend this one. Or I have yet to read this one yet, but I know, or I think, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. It's not plot heavy, it's more character driven about the inner workings of this woman's psyche basically, and kind of like a coming of age, exploring romance, I'm pretty sure, type of book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've yet to read this. Okay, this person said slow burn. Emphasis on slow. So if you like slow burn, well, then you have to read a Mariana Zapata book. People told me that she was the queen of slow burn, but I did not realize just how slow. But if you want slow, any one of her books, the slowest I have ever seen in my entire life. So yep. Academic rivals to lovers, aka probably my all-time favorite trope, other than childhood friends to lovers, which for that trope, childhood friends to lovers, Love in Other Words, which is probably why it's one of my favorites. The best academic rivals to lovers I've ever read is Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Why is the cover so weird, you ask? They're kind of like these indie authors, and this is part of a larger series called the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series, but I'm pretty sure you can read this one on its own because they really over-explain the family dynamics and like other stuff that you learn from the other books. I personally think it would hit harder if you had read the other books in the series first, but you also don't have to. Rose and Connor are definitely intelligent, definitely were academic rivals to lovers. That's like their entire origin story, so highly recommend this one. I also bought a bunch of other books under that trope for a video because I love that trope and I want to find more that have it because it's kind of rare, I feel like, but I'm on the hunt for you, don't worry. Okay, a similar book to The Hating Game or The Unhoneymooners. Definitely The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. It reminded me of The Hating Game because they are in a workspace type of thing. And then similar to The Unhoneymooners, I would say The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Arma. I'm sorry. This one reminded me of The Unhoneymooners because they have to go on a trip overseas. But in this book, they go to Spain. So, and they're like enemies to lovers in a workspace, office type thing. So very much The Hating Game and The Unhoneymooners. A romance book with no spice. I've read a few with no spice, but this one is like literally a Christian romance book. So yeah, it's also a movie in theaters, which I thought was so cool because, I mean, it shows that it's like a Christian romance, but it's not like how you would picture. Like, it's just a really good story that anyone would like, even if you're not Christian. And that is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. Watch the trailer if you want to. This is one of the most beautiful romance books I've ever read in my entire life. And it's just so much deeper than like just romance. It's like true love. I also really want to read The Masterpiece by Francine Rivers. Amazing storyteller. Highly recommend this book. Like, highly. Murder mystery in school / university, kind of dark academia. Okay, well, I have 2 that I've read and another one that I just know is that trope, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This one has a good-ish amount of romance / like romance drama. Definitely dark academia, definitely murder, definitely in university, so I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. And then also The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one also has romance / romance drama. It's basically like, these are the same book, different versions, but also very different in terms of writing style, all that stuff. But yeah, have fun with those. I also know In My Dreams I Hold a Knife is that trope, but I've just yet to read it because I've already read these 2. I feel like that's just so many books in that same genre for me to read. But if you love that, there's 3 recommendations. A good story that I can think about and just be like, WTF did I just read? Definitely Bunny by Mona Awad. This is the only horror book I've ever read, but it's not, like, I am so very easily scared by things and I won't watch horror movies, I won't do any of that, but this was not like that scary. It's just kind of a psychological thriller / what the freak is going on. Once you read the last line, it's definitely one of those things that you like shut the book and you just stare at a wall for a few hours and think, what did I watch? The type of book where you have to like look up theories on YouTube after seeing it. So I definitely liked it for that. And I also had that reaction to The Secret History. I could not believe the last few chapters. So have fun with these. A book that has endless plot twists, any genre. I also saw one that said a murder mystery with a female lead. So this series fits into that category. And that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is part of a trilogy. Second book is Good Girl, Bad Blood. And then As Good as Dead. Hello. I just recently finished this entire trilogy and I loved it so much. So much. And I love the romance in this book. I wasn't expecting there to be romance in this book at all, but I almost wish that she would take the 2 characters from this book and make a romance book just for them, because I loved the characters and the way that they interacted so much, which was so unexpected. It's definitely mystery that keeps you turning the page to see what happens. There's plot twists, all that sort of stuff. Same thing in Inheritance Games, so many plot twists. So if you like that, these 2 series will keep you hooked for a very long time. And that is everything. One last reminder for the merch that's on sale at haleypham.com, and I hope you guys have some fun reading this month. So I will see you very soon for some vlogs and a monthly reading wrap up or somewhere else on the internet. So I love you. Okay, goodbye.